So I'll just start. The first poem, which is from the womb section, is called Apoptosis. It's from the Greek, which means leaf fall. It's also a medical term. I was pre-med for about a semester and a half when I was in college. Never kind of gotten over it. Apoptosis. Every month her body prepares the scarlet garden, leaf on leaf of nesting cells to plump the shelter, rich red bed stitched with spiral arteries, ready to bear gifts to feed the visitor. And every month one packed golden drop releases, lit seed slipping down the sleek chute until that fortunate fall into the womb's open heart, its come hither welcome to the brave egg yearning for anchor. But this time or that the pursed lip of ovary locks the egg in place, or this time or that the sperm lull and perish, drugged away from match. A chilled breath begins to frost the unsettled center. The nest blebs, falters, looses its hold. Leaf fall begins. Wind sweeps the garden bare. There is no baby in this poem. So as you might expect, this is of course about me. And so is this next one. They're both from the womb section. I should say before I start that luckily I was able to have children, but it was a sort of a long process, and some of you may have gone through this. D&C. Duck and cover, she thinks, when the doctor speaks, and she flickers to first grade. Girls and boys, wild as squirrels, diving under shelter of the child-sized desks, blood hearts whumping, while high in a hot, dry sky above their school, invisible planes begin to buzz, ready to loose the terrible, swift bombs from which the scarred desks are to save them. But she's avoiding her sentence. She holds her mind to bear what her body will not do, on his words, on his manicured hands that wave above the desk he keeps between them, far from the growths that salt her womb. Standard procedure, he repeats, impatient with her weeping. Dismissed to search out the nurse, she sets a date for this invasion, dilation and curettage, a cutting meant to cure her barrenness. To bloom, she understands, first she must be wounded. I have to put this somewhere. I'm going to talk. Now, I'm going to do the one that I didn't think I could do, so I'm really excited about this. I have two boys, whom I'm very proud of, but I always sort of wanted a girl, not enough to have a third child. But I took a poetry class once where it was suggested that I could write about something that was the opposite of what is true. So bearing Weldon Keys's poem in mind, but not going that direction, I decided to write to the daughter I didn't have. Brought the poem in, and the poet said, oh, now she has to write back. So I thought, okay. This poem is called Ultra Sounding. Dear not daughter, how could you spurn me? Whip your tail less frantic than your brother, jousting boisterous of the corridor, to pitch woo in the diamond of my womb. For you I would have gemmed my egg in Fabergé, released the corsets of the cervix, and wrapped you in a fond fallopian embrace, cradled in pink dark. I knit caps of down to shield your fontanelle, you cast off in a spray of osprey feathers. Daughter, do you wonder me, a swim in vein or artery, impossibility? Do you ripple at my rib or wing my breath, my Icaro off course and falling almost fertile in me? But, mother waiting, you sigh, I'm blown rib to rib. Answer hummingbird to heel, leaf to breath. Your longing melts the wax that wings me, jams my radar blind. I'm not daughter, not dawdler, but called to read your body's book, to set plumb line to spine, to round the syllables of ball and socket. You my homeschool, I your pupil star, curee, curator, and ready medic mother, nightingale with bandage to your bone. You call me to release my rounds, bend to birth, Would you relinquish flight for flesh, for me? Here find no never girl, but Icara, glider, keeper, let me be. And then, since it's Eugene and the personal is always political, I thought I would read this poem, which I never read to anyone before. It's from the witness section, and since Ukraine has been in the news a lot recently, along with Russia and various other things, I'm going to take us back to March 2014 when Russia invaded Ukraine to seize back Crimea. There is one word in here, mamulia, which is a diminutive for mother in Russian. 5 ways to wear the balaclava. Have you shivered? Has sleet stung your face, numbed your chapped lips? Have you wished for the fleece of the family lamb that ran wild through rows of ripening apricot trees, fleece combed by the fire, spun on the ancient wheel? All day the covey of mothers murmurs and casts on the 90 loose stitches, singing the oldest songs as they loop the yarn double rib, knit to, purl to, making a helmet of wool to shield your face from invading cold. At the door you pause before boarding. Into your kit she tucks the color of pine forests at dusk, the new balaclava, knit to protect the neck snape, the ears exposed swerve, cheeks your mamulia kissed when she saved your childhood fall, wrapped you in her heart. While the train's uproar fades into the steppe, she thinks of ways you will wear it, cap to cover your head's crown, flesh over bone, as a folded scarf to caress your neck, warm the apple of Adam stuck in your throat. She imagines your convoy paused at the border, late snow lashing as you cross into Slaviansk, Sevastopol, Balaclava, how you will pull up her knitting to shield your head. But you know also the 2 other ways to shape this cap. When under the not moon, you and you creep into the town now held by what they have said are rebels, tug the dark fabric up to cover your mouth. Now, who could swear to who you might be? Who can say how your teeth gleam like wild dogs as you flick off the safety? Or better, pull higher the cover your mother has knit out of her heart. Even the shape of your nose might give you away. Only the eyes, which some may hold are the soul's windows, only the eyes are exposed, eyes frozen as stones in a deep winter pond. Now anonymous, you may stalk each terrified street, swagger the scope past shattered glass, across cracked monuments. Sleek as a tank, you swivel for barricade, spot young foolhardy hands clutching a lit Molotov. Smash in a suspect door, swing the gun hard before you. In this broken, open room, a woman, a fire, a stool, a glint in her lap. Her panicky hands drop the needles, the half-ribbed hat. The wool at her feet is the color of pine, color of iron, color of blood. You're going to cut this part out, right? So, one last poem from this book. This comes from the section called Word. And sometimes my gaze has been as a mother toward sons, or the not daughter that I didn't have. And sometimes the gaze has to be reversed. My mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2009, way later than she should have been, and lived another 2 years. Sometimes, an indigo cloak clasped at her paper throat, my mother is stepping deep and deeper into a mute forest winglit with birds, a basket of seeds clutched in her hand. Once in a while she remembers and scoops deep into the swirl and gathers a handful to sow all about her, strewing the path with her time-tested mix of dun pearls of millet, of Ethiopian Niger tiny as rice, the richest black oil sunflower seeds, and so making a feast under her feet, to delight the rose-breasted housefinches, arrow-tailed swifts, her juncos, her mourning doves calling, "Where are you? Where are you?" as they light her path into thickening woods. Sometimes she stops to consider the narrowing way, to right and left, storm-felled trunks stitched with sword fern and moss, straddled by opportune alder. Ahead, a dim bramble, a brush. Sometimes my mother looks back, turns around, slippered feet tentative over awkward ground laced with uneven root wad and rock under drifts of soft duff. The vine maples reddened and tumbling leaves brush her wrist, and she stops to point out the flutter, color, and call of so many birds to my father, although he is not on the path she follows into the tangled heart of the forest, close and damp after rain. These woods, vines and branches, holes and encroaching thickets, hers alone where he cannot follow. Now streaking the dusk, one cardinal flares, far from their New England home. Scarlet-headed and cloaked, plump ensign who darts in and out of the cumulate dark to light on her shoulder. And she feels how she flies, wordless, under his heart, how she enters his heart and he hers. She picks up the basket, steps on into twilight, the cardinal weeping, his red breast sweeping and lighting the one way, one way. So I'm going to switch over to my other book. I had a long drought of books, and then two came out in the space of about a year. It's like, oh, embarrassment of riches, the term was made for this. So the book is called Mercy, and it's a medical narrative, so my brief fling with med school lives on. So I'm going to read a sequence of these. They tell basically of the journey my husband and I have had with his, he has a rare kind of cancer. And I should perhaps mention that although they said he had 6 months to a year 15 years ago, he drove me here today. You can imagine in the meantime we have been through a lot. Cozy. Tonight we bolt the door, draw trout print curtains to shut away the fraught world. Escaped. This remote river cabin, ours for 48 hours. Slipping from love-rumpled feather beds and sheets, we admire the coved ceiling, the wide pine planks that glow overhead, thick enough to keep out driving rain or freeze. Safe. The cut stone fireplace ablaze, we curl close on a plump couch. Sweetness drifts from chipped green mugs. Tonight, nothing can disturb us, not storm, not phone, not even cancer, who squats on our stoop, flipping his gold coin in lazy arcs. The clock ticks to Monday, when he knows we'll have to crack the only door, fire up the truck. He will ride between us. Cozy, he'll think, his silent good humor chilling our blood as he hums and nods pleasantly, first to you, then to me, one hand lightly resting on each near thigh. So Phil's been through 4 surgeries and 2 rounds of chemo now. So we are veterans and still persisting. This next poem is the title poem for the book, and it's for Liz, who was a infusion room nurse for the first time we went for chemo. And it's a very scary thing. You don't know who else is there or what it's going to be like or if it'll be bad or whatever. So this is for Liz, Mercy. We shiver. The room is not cold. We're sweatered up, red for you, blue for me, artery, vein, going and coming. We wait on needles. You roll up your sleeve, expose a pale vein, pulse under winter skin, infuse to pour into. Nearby nurses lift the plump sacks, poisons mixed to pour fire into flesh, yours, others, 8 stations of strangers propped, pillow-chaired about the scrubbed room as nurses come and go in these hushed halls of chemo, flicking scarlet nails to restart a clogged line. One, blue scrubs, bluer eyes, stops before us, tray of sharps held at her waist. Liz. She kneels by your side, seeks your eyes and mine to assess the level of our dread. Lays her hand on yours, murmurs, "We'll look after you," slips a swift needle under swabbed skin. "Anything," she looks at me, "call me for anything." Rising, she turns to attend to our neighbor's porch. You doze under meds. I watch, still on edge, as she leans to retrieve a chart. Her sleeve rides up past her elbows' pale skin. In the tender flesh, the mouth of an old reddened scar. "What's that?" someone asks. "Oh, that," she says. "My stepfather stubbed his cigarette out on me." I'm not meant to hear, but I flinch. Sudden before me, the child's bared arm, her scrabbling feet as she tries to escape. His grip, her cry. How could she burn to mercy? Wounded, she heals. Blessed, we dare to drink from the bitter cup. I had a friend who was reading this, and she said, "I was wondering when you get to the anger poem." So there was a time when every time I'm a natural catastrophizer. Every time we go in to see the doctor, it was worse than anything I had imagined. And this went on for months, the first year when he was diagnosed. So I wrote several poems on anger, one of which is here. Anger. I consider how to get your attention, not prayer, not petition, action. Grab the empty bottles, head for the dump, coolly scoop them up, melted, blown, shaped, helpless cash huddled in the dark trunk. Ignore the box for cardboard, barrel of abandoned cans. Aim for the empty window cut in the bin for glass. Lift each rejected jar, bottle, vial to catch the light absent from his bones. Then pitch below a pit of snap and glitter, crack and smash. Hurl each beautiful body, fused of lime, silica, and lead. Shatter, shatter. It helps to mutter, take this. Wreck each artifact, green shard, gold shard, clear. See, I grit, teeth clenched, you're not the only one who can break things. Here's from a little wishful thinking in the course of all this. Remission. The old blue prayer book used to simmer in its slot, reminding us to own up to things done or left undone. Only then could we ask for our sins to be sent back. What remission meant to say, return to sender, though it wasn't clear exactly who had sent them or where they might end up. I pictured some dead letter office in the sky where scuffed packages rose to a ceiling of transparent angels. Still, it wasn't easy to imagine room in heaven for all those taped up bundles. Much more tempting to sway to Elvis's lament, return to sender, address unknown, to swear we'd keep those precious letters, giddy girls pressing his missives straight into our hearts. On my knees today, I'm puzzling how return to sender works for cancer. Remission, gift read by radiology, offered in the doctor's office. Our white coat team has beaten back again that invasion, but remission isn't cure, it's temporary respite. Sent back's not good enough for us. I want every greedy cell hijacked, thrust deep into a box like a coffin, lid slammed shut, taped tight, package set outside in freezing fog, waiting for UPS to pick it up, stow it in that comfortably dirt brown truck. Parting the curtains in our living room, we'd raise trembling hands to say, Godspeed, farewell, which we do not mean. We mean get out of town and don't come back. Hurrah, breathing free at last, the truck would gear up the drive, its brown-robed driver raising one hand to bless us as he heads out into what we trust will be a bone-cold, occluding mist. I think I'll just read one more, and I didn't write the page down, so give me 1 second here. Here we go. When we were at the point where it was the 6-month to a year survival stage, they sent us to MD Anderson in Houston, which is one of the great places to go, particularly for his kind of cancer. But you can't spend all your time in doctor's offices while you're there. So they said, oh, go to the art museum or the Natural Science Center where we went. And they had this astonishing butterfly habitat that just rose into the air, all glass. That was part of it. And I spent a great deal of time there taking notes in a little pocket, thing. So I would get back, and when I got home, discovered I'd pushed the wrong button and I hadn't recorded anything. So after a few despairing years, I was still just obsessed with our experience there and what it was like. And so with a little research, I recreated some of the feeling of being there. This poem is called Little Mutable. After we pass through the paired doors, after the dark, narrow tunnel has yielded us up, we enter the great crystal chamber, 3-storied loft and flicker, harp-strung in sun, and a waver of shadow lace, green swerve of intertwined palm and spiraling ginger, lush habitat for the fantastic. And they appear, reappear, hosts of butterflies flare through the damp press of air, sheltered by intricate glass, by skeletal struts that hold the outer world at bay. Within, all is fluting shimmer, rice paper, blue clipper, red peacock, little mutable flames that glide as we, refugees from the cancer center and stunned by treatment, we glide in luxurious lights, afloat in paradise, new drunk on pink flower spike, on corpse flowers, purple ruffed spray, on sheer color, sky swath, and caramel camouflage, unfolding the air where we've been permitted back into the garden. A blue morpho lights on your sleeve, and our guide murmurs, psyche, soul, its deep-winged gleam, its resting, almost, might we say, blessing. And I, unchosen, confess a wish for such touch to brush me, who must be content as witness, translator of what might have happened here. Stay, oh, stay. We have our return appointments, must pass back again through the dark. This, only this, a radiance still seems to cling to your sleeve.